Moving on now, friends, our big debate tonight. Can we trust China? External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar, in a fresh statement, opined that it will take time to build trust and willingness with China. While there remains significant buzz post the Modi-Xi bilateral in Russia and the disengagement process that's begun on the ground, the larger question remains, can we trust the dragon? That's our conversation. Look at the developments and come back.
While there remains big buzz surrounding the disengagement on the line of actual control, can India really trust China this time? External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar also opined that it will take time to build trust and willingness.
डी-एस्केलेशन का मतलब है कि दोनों सेनाएं काफ़ी बड़ी मात्रा में हथियार के साथ उस क्षेत्र में आए, तो वो हम उसको कम नहीं करेंगे जब तक हमें विश्वास नहीं है कि उनके यहाँ भी वो ऐसी डिसीजन। तो ये मिलजुल के बात करने से ही होगा, इस पे भी हमें सहमति बनानी होगी।
The border standoff between India and China began in eastern Ladakh along the line of actual control in 2020, sparked by Chinese military actions. Since then, there have been prolonged tensions between the two nations, significantly straining relations. However, a ray of hope was seen as Prime Minister Modi held bilateral talks with Chinese President Xi Jinping for the first time in 5 years on the sidelines of the 2024 BRICS summit.
भारत और चीन के संबंधों का महत्व केवल हमारे लोगों के लिए ही नहीं, लेकिन वैश्विक शांति, स्थिरता और प्रगति के लिए भी हमारे संबंध बहुत अहम है। सीमा पर शांति और स्थिरता बनाए रखना हमारी प्राथमिकता रहनी चाहिए। म्यूचुअल ट्रस्ट, म्यूचुअल रिस्पेक्ट और म्यूचुअल सेंसिटिविटी हमारे संबंधों का आधार बने रहना चाहिए।
Despite significant strides being made, can we really work with the expansionist bully? Big questions loom large, but first, let's debate.
All right, essentially what we are discussing in this short, quick conversation is whether we can trust the Chinese after the detent at the border. Joining me, Major General G.D. Bakshi. He's defense expert. He's live from Delhi. You know he's a familiar face with us. And we have Swasti Rao, geopolitical expert, also live from Delhi. And also two economists, one leaning towards the BJP, the other leaning towards the Congress, Kishore Subramaniam and Akhil Swami, respectively. I would want to begin with you, General Bakshi. Sir, short question. Can we trust the Chinese despite all the vibes that are coming in now and all the detent and the de-escalation happening on the ground?
My simple answer, no. We'll have to trust but verify. The simple fact is we've had too many stabs in the back, volte-faces and turnaround in the past. However, I would like to point out to one era where both of us felt that our geopolitical interests demanded that we have peace. I'm talking of the era of Deng Xiaoping, when he had said famously, hide your capabilities, bide your time. China's, was trying to go in for its economic modernization, military modernization. They wanted no trouble on the borders, right? So when India made that outreach, they were quite responsive. And for 2 decades plus, that is the time when peace and tranquility accords, etc., were all worked out. You see? So my point at issue is, why is there the beginning of a thaw in India-China relations? The simple fact is that the geopolitical interests of both have now reached a juncture where they feel that a thaw would be in their mutual interest. China believes in one principal strategic direction. They don't want a two-front situation for themselves in military terms. Their strategic direction now is towards Taiwan, South China Sea, the East China coast. They do not want to get embroiled with India. It's not to their interest to get embroiled with India in a major way on their extreme western flank.
Yeah.
You know, it was basically under under Pakistani prodding. You know, when Pakistan went crying to them that India has removed Article 370, etc., that is the time they had tried to throw their weight around in Ladakh.
Yeah.
I'm afraid they got it back in kind, right? There was a tit for tat response. We mirrored their deployment of 50,000 troops in Ladakh, man for man, tank for tank, gun for gun, right? And they have now decided that after keeping their troops out in the bitter cold for 4 winters, they are not too happy.
Right, sir.
And they are also finding that Pakistan, especially the Pakistani army, is making an outreach towards the United States once again.
Yeah.
They are proving to be people who hunt with the hare and who run with the hare and hunt with the hounds.
Yeah.
So it is in their geopolitical interest, and India, I'll just finish, and India, we were supposed to be strategic allies with the United States. We have been subjected to extreme hostility.
Yes.
See the overthrow of the Hasina Wajid government in Bangladesh, the quest for a base on St. Martin's Island, the quest for a cookie land on our Myanmar border, the playing of the Khalistan card, you know, along with Trudeau of Canada, and the volte-face on the jet engine deal.
Right.
They've taken the cash and they're refusing to give us the engines that we need so badly to phase out our MiG-21s. I mean, these are not very reassuring signs.
Right, sir.
And I think it's about time that we have to safeguard our own national interests.
Maybe because the administration...
If there is a coincidence of interest between India and China.
Yes, sir. Maybe the administration in the United States is a lame duck administration, so they are struggling with decision making.
The waters. Most certainly it's a lame duck administration, and we are frankly hoping that if Donald Trump comes, things would be a lot better.
Right, sir. But I really like the phrase that you used, Indian response.
But as of now,
Indian response, putting in man-to-man, gun-to-gun, and tank-to-tank. I think that got the Chinese by surprise. They were not expecting that kind of military response. And that's why perhaps after sustained negotiation and dialogue, we have this de-escalation and detente happening. Let me get another view of the geostrategic expert on our panel, Swasti Rao. You agree with General Bakshi, Swasti, that we can't trust the Chinese? Maybe we trust but verify, because the past has left a bitter taste. Twice bitten, thrice shy.
Well, yes, absolutely. Good evening to you and good evening to the rest of the panel. And thank you for your question. See, of course, we cannot trust the Chinese. Where is the doubt about that? If there's anything that we have learned from history, is that we have to be very careful of the Chinese. 1 step back, 1 step forward and 2 steps backwards, right? And here, since we're discussing the improvement in trade deals, I'll just try and reset things to where they were 10 years ago. You know, when Prime Minister Modi had just become Prime Minister, you know, in 2014, China welcomed this entire thing, welcomed his coming to office. And at that time, you know, what the Chinese investments and what the narrative they created then, they created a narrative that in the next few years, we are going to have an investment of about $100 billion flowing into India. You look at the Chinese investments now, they are just at about $2 billion after 10 years. Now, you could say that that has happened because we also introduced, after Galwan and after being stabbed in our back, we also introduced certain investment screenings, but that is something which is very recent. So the Chinese are masters of doublespeak. Yes, by and large, the trade environment will improve. But please, we have to keep in mind that we are facing a major situation, not only of erosion of strategic trust, that will take its own time to be built back very slowly and steadily. And I'm sure that nobody in India or whoever is there at the decision-making body is actually letting go of that strategic caution. The other thing coming to the economics of it is that, like I said, that we have to keep in mind that Chinese are only interested in doing more trade with us because it creates that vulnerability because of that economic dependence. Now today we have more than 100 billion worth of trade, and out of that $85 billion is trade deficit, isn't it? And I'm sure the economists on the panel would know that better. But I'm trying to bring in the strategic aspect of this particular equation. So the Chinese are interested not just with India. You look at the trade, mostly their trade with the rest of the world also. They are basically interested in creating these trade vulnerabilities that they then weaponize. Okay, that is why they are not interested in so much of so much of investments till the time that particular country is not a signatory to BRI, and India is not a signatory to BRI. India is not even a party to RCEP, and doesn't even is the case that India plans to be a signatory to either of the two. So what we have to keep in mind is that we have China is creating these dependencies. It is something which is a repeated pattern all over Chinese economic statecraft. This is a part of their ideology. And while on the one hand, yes, we should always try to ask the Chinese to open their markets so that we can also export more agricultural products, maybe some more things. The point is the Chinese don't relent, and maybe sometimes just for the heck of it, they will do a little bit, and then the entire CCP machinery is going to do a propaganda around that as if this is a great thing, and that's a psychological warfare. And before anybody realizes, our trade dependencies will grow even further. So I think my short point is that the strategic caution is the need of the hour, whether it's the LAC disengagement and later this de-escalation, if that happens as well. I hope it happens, and as well as on the trade aspect, because we cannot say taking what they say on face value.
So since we are discussing trade, let me get in the two economists on the panel, and to Kishore first. Kishore, as a defense expert and the geostrategic experts on the panel, both General Bakshi and Swasti Rao respectively, they say that no trusting the Chinese, and there has to be geostrategic caution in whatever India does going forward with China. But Kishore, while the government did bring in the Press Note 3 and banned all these companies from TikTok to many other mobile companies, WeChat, etc., there would be pressure from the industry because there is a pent-up demand, and despite all this explosion in imports, the industry wants more perhaps. How do you balance that? The government would be under tremendous pressure, Kishore.
Okay, so there are a few points we need to understand. As far as the trade deficit is concerned, we are on a trade deficit, we import more. If you look at the cumulative trade deficit over the last 5 years, it is more than $300 billion. And remember, Chinese are extremely self-centered when it comes to economics. It is only their interest that comes first. And when you look at the global economic situation, the China +1 strategy is going to hurt them. And as we near the US election, there is a huge fear in China that if Mr. Donald Trump gets elected, this China +1 strategy will become very aggressive. And if China +1 is a strategy which is going to work, that +1, the first country and the best country today is India. So remember one thing, that we need to be extremely cautious on the geopolitical area, but on the economic area also we need to be very, very careful. Remember what China has done with the BRI, what China has done with Sri Lanka. See, China is the only country which has a problem with all the 18 countries which it has got land borders and stuff. So China is a very unique position where it has actually political issues and land issues with every single country. And if possible, as your panelist, the geopolitical experts, madam said, that we need to be extremely cautious because they can economically ruin you if they get an opportunity. So they would always like to put you in a situation where you have to cry back to them, which is exactly what they did with Sri Lanka. And we, having a very strong leadership currently, are not going to budge this.
Maybe Sri Lanka is not a good example to quote, Kishore. I mean, we are much larger, much larger than Sri Lanka. But of course, what comes out, I think, unequivocally with all the panelists is that we can't trust the Chinese. Akhil Swami, you're donning the economist's hat tonight, but what's the Congress view going to be like? What's the opposition sense? Is the opposition going to stand with the government in whatever call the government takes on China?
See, the basic question you are asking, whether India should trust China. See, not even a single person who is in sane condition would say that we should trust China. Because right now, China is sitting on a large area of land, whether it was 1962 or 2014, 18, 19, I'm not concerned with that. That was not a land given by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. That was not his land. That was India's land. That is my motherland's land. And China is sitting on my land. And a country which has taken your land, you are making friendship with him, number one. Number two, you are making friends with all dictators of the world. China is a dictatorship. Russia is a dictatorship. North Korea is a dictatorship. Israel is a dictatorship. And you are making enemies with democracies.
Israel is a dictatorship. Akhil Swami, what has happened to you? We are not friends with North Korea, and Israel is not a dictatorship. And Russia, we have old relationship going back to Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru's time.
What type of democracy Putin has? What type? He's an invader.
Are Baba, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru started the friendship. We have to continue the legacy of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, for God's sake.
Again, went back to Pandit Nehru. That is what I said.
was told by Congress,
whether it was Pandit Nehru or Modi.
Who said India, China, bye bye?
This is no.
India,
this
China,
is my
bye bye was
country's
said
land.
by Pandit Nehru, not BJP.
No. Just let him stop him and let me speak.
Kishore, let me speak to him. Okay, so Akhil Swami, you know you are digressing. You are getting into a quicksand of an area where you don't, I think, have understanding.
For 2 minutes. Let me speak. Don't ask questions.
Okay, no, I'm asking a question. I can ask a question, not Kishore. Kishore is not asking. I'm asking you a question.
Let me complete and then ask question.
Okay, complete quickly.
Now, that was not a land of Pandit Nehru. In 1962, what China took from us. It is India's land. It is my motherland's land. And China is sitting on that land. You make friendship with them when they withdraw from that land. I don't mind.
Who's making friendship? I don't think Prime Minister Modi signed any MOU with Xi Jinping in Kazakhstan.
Again, right now I'm saying if you are believing in China, then this is the highest foolish decision of anybody. Now, let me give one more point. There is a company which has been incorporated in Beijing by the biggest capitalist of this country in Beijing, and that was done on 2nd September 2024. And that company where Adani and Chinese firms are totally involved. They will be undertaking all projects in India about logistics and those type of activities. So the basic point is whether, third point I would agree with General Bakshi. China is just keeping you quiet because they would like to attack Taiwan in the next 6 months. And after they take over Taiwan, then you will understand, because in Kargil what happened, you believed on Pakistan, they stabbed us. Now you are believing on China, I'm just telling you, if you are believing in China, they will stab you back. And Mr. Modi, if he is doing
so everyone believes that. Nobody is saying that you trust China. General Bakshi said that. Swasti said that. Kishore said that. You are also saying that.
Make friends with Canada and America. Why China?
Canada.
The biggest ever.
Make friends with Canada. They are going to kill your diplomats. They are targeting your leaders.
They are openly promoting the Khalistan.
Canada से दुश्मनी करोगे?
Canada हमसे दुश्मनी कर रहा है. At least Justin Trudeau.
Canada में वहाँ पे वर्क वीजा में कितने लोग हैं? वर्क परमिट अब खत्म हो रहे हैं 31 दिसंबर.
Okay, let me ask this to General Bakshi sir.
120,000 people will be sent back from Canada.
In whatever Akhil Swami said, only one thing made sense to me. Okay.
And you are making friends with China.
Okay, nobody is making friends with China. Nobody is making friends with China. General Bakshi sir, only one very cogent argument Akhil Swami made, which was that China is going to attack Taiwan. I believe everyone would agree, Swasti, of course, you as geopolitical analyst, that China, if not now, maybe 6 months, maybe 5 years, we don't know, but they are going to definitely attack Taiwan. General Bakshi sir, militarily speaking, the disengagement is happening. Look, as you said, trust but verify, all those things are happening on the ground. But you think that we have sent a very strong message, not just to China, but to rest of the world also, that India can stare down the bully, and that's what has happened.
अरे झूला झूला के थोड़ी स्टेयर बैक होता है.
Exactly. You see the अरे साहब थोड़ा सा हम भी कह लें कुछ आपकी इजाजत हो तो. अच्छा.
अरे सर पूरी इजाजत.
Look, you know, the simple fact is that you know, India had demanded restoration of status quo ante, right? And now, 4.5 years later, China has been forced to restore the status quo ante in terms of the restoration of patrolling rights in Depsang, in Demchok, right? The entire Depsang plains are very sensitive because these are the places where both sides can deploy armor, right? And the Chinese feel that their G219 highway linking Tibet with Xinjiang is threatened by our deployment of tanks. So they were acting very muscular in trying to curtail the movement of our patrols into patrolling point 10, 11, 11A, 12, 13, etc. Right? This has now been restored.
Right,
Twice
sir.
a month, our patrols will go
Right,
in
sir.
a quantum of just about 15 each and go with prior notification. So this is the tentative beginning of a thaw.
Yes.
Before you get carried away into massive trade deals and the rest, my simple fact is trust but verify. Let us see how it works out. It is going to start end of this month.
Right, sir.
Wait and see how it pans out.
Absolutely.
Because trust can be broken very easily.
Absolutely.
Restoration of trust takes some time.
Absolutely.
Take some time, and you will have to give it that time because we have a tendency to get carried away with the momentum of one gush
Absolutely,
of
sir.
peace breaking out, and we tend to go overboard.
Absolutely,
So
sir. In
we
fact-
have taken tentative steps which
Yeah.
are in our geopolitical interest.
Yeah.
You
in
know,
fact,
this, United
in
States,
fact, this
as I
is
said, has created I'll just finish.
Sir.
The United States has created a colored revolution in Bangladesh, right? From a 2.5 front war, we are on to a 3.5 front
Yes, sir.
war. So I think it is astute to manage our resources very, very,
Yes, sir.
cautiously and not be fighting all over the place.
yes, sir.
So if we can get that chance, why not?
Absolutely.
Then we could focus
This
on
is-
some other targets.
Sir,
To
I have
their
run out of
detriment.
time. This is a conversation of consequence we have had. Very measured, reasoned conversation. And everyone on the panel agreed that we can't trust the Chinese. Of course, as a nation, we can't. We have been bitten often to be trusting the Chinese again. Let's move with each step being measured with caution. Thank you, friends, for joining us in this conversation. And short break, news on the other side. And of course, at Super Prime Time Max, 8 p.m. tomorrow, Arnab Goswami is back with the debate.